welcome to another up close video. Today's one is for Tonic Stamp Club number 11, which is called Patterns and Prints. And you might be thinking this one looks similar to a previous set, and you'll remember a few weeks ago when we had Shoot for the Stars, I said, oh, it looks like Shoot for the Moon, and they coordinate perfectly. And then they brought Shoot for the Moon back, so I don't know if they're going to bring back the backgrounds and borders one that this kind of gives you the same sort of theme of, because I know this one was really popular. This sold out within like a few hours, I think, of it launching. So I don't know if they're going to bring this one back as well, but nevertheless, if you already have it, then you can use it in conjunction with all of this. I have only just used these separately because I didn't want to confuse you with what letters that you get, because I've actually been making different words out of the letters. You do get some extra individual letters which do actually make this go a lot further than just the word you're given, which is fabulous, and I'll show you all of those kind of words as well as other ones that you can make out of here. You can even do some Christmas ones too, which is brilliant. But if you had the previous one, which was the Stamp Club number 5, Backgrounds and Borders, you could incorporate some of these letters in conjunction with these. These were different sized words, however I think the Hugs one is the same size, and for some words with this set it would be quite nice to have an S in there, so you could use the S from the Hugs, and you'd also then get a G as well to use in conjunction. Even though these ones actually look the same size, those O's are actually a tiny bit different, and I'll probably point that out on one of my cards, because I had loads of letters left over, and then I was making other words from the letters, and I stacked two on top of each other, and they weren't exactly the same. So that's funny that they look identical, but they are a teeny weeny little bit different. But yeah, they're practically the same height, all of the ones in the new set. But I just thought I'd jog your memory of this one if you managed to get hold of it, because it would work absolutely perfectly in conjunction with this month's one, which is number 11, and it is the Patterns and Prints Stamp Club. So there is so much that you can do with sets like this. I know they kind of look just sort of like generic stash builder kind of sets, but you can do your background making for your cards, for your journaling. You could even do it onto like tissue paper and collage it onto canvases and things for like home decor and stuff as well. All of the words, you have hello, which is fantastic just for any sort of card. You've got this could be you, our, your, or your with the apostrophe RE, and then you've got a and an, so you can do your an amazing or your a wonderful. So they've given you the proper options, and they've also given you a T down here, because you can actually then do hello there, so you can do THERE. Which is fantastic as well. And there are so many other possibilities of words that you can spell in here as well. Just having the T gives you the word the as well, so you could combine it with other stamps and dies and, you know, use the word the, like you don't quite have the letters to do the end, as in like the end of a scrapbook or something. You'd have that on the last page, but you could do the and then use end from stamps or another die set that you have. So I think this is a really nice selection of words that they've given you, with lots of different letters in there that are brilliant for creating more words. And I will show you samples with more words, because I got a little bit carried away, and I think I've got like 12 samples to show you. And there's also 2 sped up videos this month. One is a card making video with like quite simple sort of ink blending background and stamping the beautiful patterns on, and then the other one is actually an art journaling sped up video, because when you get these gorgeous sets like this, I just can't help but make an art journal page with all these gorgeous stamps, and I thought I might as well film it this month. So I actually started, well, I made 3 journal pages in the video, because the style of journal page that I did is quite quick to kind of do compared to the old style that I used to film. But I had one page that had a little bit of detail on it. So 3 of the pages of the 2 double page spreads that I did were completely blank. So I'm properly showing you like from start to finish of how I create the kind of art journal pages that I've shown you previously. But usually I just show you little elements that I've added to pages that I've already been working on. So that would be quite nice for you to see the behind the scenes of that. And I'll probably put my Arty Potential titles on that video as well. But let's have a proper look at the die set first. So I know it's a stamp club, but the dies are kind of like screaming out to be looked at. So we have the word your, hello, a, n, so you can do A and An. And then you also have T down here as well, which helps you create more words. And I'll measure the actual letters for you as well. So the actual letter size is about 1¼ inches, or if you want to go for centimetres, it's about 3½ centimetres. So they're slightly bigger than an inch tall, which is a really decent sized letter that can be like the focal point of your card, so you can really focus on the background and then just have like the sentiment, and it'll finish it off really nicely, which is great. Also with all of these, I think practically all of the samples that I've done have just been using the actual die cut or the surrounding area of the die cut, but don't forget you can also turn these into shakers as well, because a lot of the cards that I've shown you have actually been making up different words. I couldn't always use like the negative effect cut into the card to make a shaker, but I have shown that. I'm sure I did it with the previous one with the words in, and I've shown it tons of times how to do a shaker card with word dies, so you can definitely do shaker cards. And then to go along with all of these words, you also have a gorgeous CRaFTi style of font, which goes perfectly with this like chunky block letter. It gives a really modern feel. And this one says wonderful. Then you also have friend. This one says amazing. And then you also have best. You can do best friend. You can do you're a wonderful. Or you can do you're an amazing, and then like best friend or friend. You can do hello friend, hello wonderful friend, and you can change the grammar of the word your as well, so you can do your without the apostrophe and just with the R on the end, or you can even do your you are because you've got the A too. And then because you have the apostrophe, you can also do little quote marks or speech marks around something as well, because you've got the letters to do hey. You could do hey with like little speech marks around it as well, which is great. So I will show you some other letters cut out as well, and there's probably even, well, there's definitely even more words than what I figured out. I'll just mention some of the other ones. So I said there before, and then you can also do Christmas words like Noel, Yule, which I've done on 2 of my cards. You can also do holly, you can do the word year, you can do earth, you can do Nana, you can do Hannah, Thea, Theo, Leon, Loan. There's loads of like actual names that you can create out of it as well. So if you've got any short sort of names that you could create out of this, that would be brilliant as well. Means that you can like personalise your cards, and I'll show you one that I have actually personalised to my nan, and I've done it nanny, but I like to spell it with an IE, so I've actually cut part of an L off to turn it into an I, so you can also alter these letters. And actually I was trying to do the word happy, but then I thought, well, we don't actually have a P, but you could actually snip off that bit of the R to give you P's as well, so you could do the word happy, which is really nice too. And you could even do like happy Yule or happy Noel, and can get a complete Christmas sentiment out of this non-Christmas set, which is brilliant. And then the final 2 dies in this set are 2 gorgeous like geometrical pattern dies. This one is, I think all of the squares are the same. I think they are. They might be slightly off square, but it's a lovely sort of mesh square design, and it's completely there within a square design. So if you want more of a distressed feel, you can go in with your scissors and cut bits out of it, or you've actually got that lovely grid already there, and all of the outside edge of this cuts for you. So that is a complete die cut. I was actually using it as a stencil on one of my journal pages, so that is the complete little die cut that you get. I think this would be quite cool for like a football themed card, or maybe even a tennis themed card as like the net. And I just remembered something, you can also spell the word hole, H-O-L-E, so if you like got someone who loves golf, you could do hole in one on a card as well. So that would be quite another cool way of doing it. You could actually do the whole phrase hole in one and change the L into an I as well. And then I think I chucked the other bit that I was using as a stencil, but this one cuts into the card, so I'll show you that on one of the cards that I've done as well, and gives you a gorgeous honeycomb effect. And if you have any bees, like bee dies or bee stamps from previous any of like the online releases, or some of the ones that have been on CRaFTi, like the mason jar had a bumblebee in, I'm sure there were a few others as well, especially like the pattern panels, and you could cut a bumblebee out of them as well. This would go really nicely for those sorts of cards too. And if you were clever, you could take that stick of the R off and turn it into a P, cut two of them, flip one round the other way, and try and create a letter B as well. And then you can do a punny sentiment with B, like B-E-E, for the hexagon kind of style of card as well. And then, yeah, so this one cuts into the card, so all of these areas around the edge will give you jaggedy hexagons sort of fading off into the solid of the card, which is really lovely. And even these jagged hexagons, using them on your project as well looks really great. I use them on one of my art journal pages and it looks really cool, so I will show you that later on as well. So that is the die set, and then the actual stamp set for the Stamp Club is full of tons of really different kind of stamps for background building, and I love that you've got them all in one place. Like a lot of the time you might get these two sort of ones on the same stamp set, or maybe even like the coffee ring kind of ones. These sort of modern ones would be on another stamp set, maybe the grid and a cracker would be on something else. So it's quite nice to have everything all in one set, and you can do so many different styles. I have mostly stuck to my kind of style that I love to do, but you can also do a vintagey kind of style. I did a vintagey looking card with the coffee rings on there and the script as well. So you've got a gorgeous, like, fancy old cursive script on there. I don't think it's that legible, although I can see the phrase calm but not cold and cheerful, so you might be able to read it actually. If you're good at reading, if you're good at deciphering handwriting, you might actually be able to read that. And then you've got a little, I think it's a bit of a newspaper. Yeah, I think it is. It's like adverts in a newspaper, I think, possibly. So that's quite a nice extra little one to have, and if you do it with first and second generation it becomes less legible and sort of sinks into the background more, which is quite nice. You also got a lovely crackle one, which has got some larger sort of, well, it almost looks like scrunched up paper that's then been flattened out again, because you've got like deeper areas where there are deeper crinkles and then lighter areas that are finer details as well, which looks really lovely. We've got a gorgeous coffee ring. It's got like proper splats in it and even like a drip coming down here as well, but this one looks really lovely. I actually heat embossed this on one of my cards as well, and it works really great, and you can even cut it out. It's a little bit tricky to go around some of these bits on the inside, but I'll show you on one of the cards how I've cut round to that as well. You've got a second coffee ring there too, but these don't have to just be coffee rings, they could be paint rings as well. If you do a card for someone who's arty, they could be like rings of paint from tins of paint and stuff as well. Then you've got some gorgeous, like, more modern sort of ones for building up background texture. I love this little one with the little dashes, and this actually fits perfectly inside the letters in the dies, so you can actually stamp onto the letters and give them like a stripy feel with that one. You've got a gorgeous zigzaggy kind of sewn stitch almost. You've got a straight wiggly line that you can curve into whatever kind of shape you want. You've got this gorgeous dotty one, and you have a smaller version of this too. I was actually using this to turn into like a starburst effect and then stamping them like around a clock kind of design, and this one all the way around in a circle, and it kind of gives a fireworky, starbursty kind of effect. Then you've got this one, which I really love. This is almost, well, to me it is when you've done like an art journal page and then you get like a metallic paint and you just use a round or a flat paintbrush and you make like little brush marks. That's what that one reminds me of, and I was actually using it with heat embossing and it looks really great done like that as well. I love this little cross one. You can do it as that way as like kisses, you could do it more like this way as like little plus signs, but really nice for adding a little bit of texture. We've then got two hexagon ones which are actually the same configuration, so I think it's designed so that you could stamp this in an outline colour and then stamp these ones inside it to fill it in. I didn't actually use the hexagons in the end, but I think that's how you could use those two, but also just using it in the same way as like these sort of ones, just to add a little bit of texture in the background is great. You've also got a clock number, 1111 or 1111. I think that's something to do with good luck, 1111, if you see that on a clock. And then you also have the last one is a really lovely grid pattern as well. I love using graph paper in my crafting. You'll see it as one of my journal pages. I've actually made my own journal and used graph paper in it. but I love the look of like squared paper or graph paper, so this is great for creating some squared paper if you don't have any, and giving it in, well, some of the time when I do use graph paper or squared paper, I often put like white gesso or a colour of acrylic paint over the background, and it kind of obliterates some of it, but you can see some areas poking through, and this kind of automatically gives you that area that's poking through whatever you put in the background, so that's quite a nice one to use. But I'm sure you could line that up if you wanted to make a solid, you know, linear all over kind of gridded pattern. I'm sure you could line that up as well and create a longer section, which would be really lovely. So that is the stamp and die set, and then I'll be back in a second to show you all my samples that I've done as well. So I did all of these 3 cards in the same colour scheme, and I was actually using Distress Oxide, so I used picked raspberry, broken china and twisted citron to make these ones, and I was using the gorgeous large Nuvo blending brushes to do the ink blending on the backgrounds as well. So the first 2 are my sped up card making video for this month, and I just love how simple they look, just using the 2 different background dies. You can see how this one cuts out and then you can add it on top, whereas this one cuts into the card. You could snip around that edge, or even just like trim around where the hexagons start to disappear and have like a random hexagon-y shape similar to this kind of feel as well if you wanted to, if you'd rather it be sort of stuck on top rather than cut into your background as well. And so there's ways around that if you'd rather that kind of look. And if you'd rather this one look like it was in the card, you could have cut this one out of your coloured inky background and then like recessed it back in again, so you can achieve both effects with both dies, which is really nice. It just gives you the sort of options and makes you think about different ways of using them. I think if you have one of each, you kind of think, oh, I could actually use the other one, you know, in the other way. So for these I did the ombre from picked raspberry to broken china to twisted citron, and then I used the crackle stamp in the top section. I did do tone on tone stamping, so it's a nice subtle kind of background, but I used the crackle stamp, I used the gridded effect, and I used the dotty bubbly one in the centre, and then at the bottom I used those little plus signs or crosses as well. And then I also splattered on water because I love this kind of effect with these sorts of cards, which is why I picked oxide inks to use rather than the Nuvo hybrid ink pads, because I wanted that water reactive effect of when you splash water on, you can do like the faux bleaching effect and pull the colour off to leave those little faded dots in there. I really love that look. So that's why I used oxide inks, because I wanted that kind of effect. And then for the sentiments, I have used the Hello, and I've used Aqua Shimmer glitter gloss on there to make it lovely and sparkly, and then I've done Friend underneath, and I've layered it onto vellum, which is how I love to use these kind of sentiments. And you can see how nice and fine the bubble is. I don't think I actually told you, all of those scripty words have their own bubble around them as well, which is brilliant because it means you can layer them up like this, or you can cut them out of a solid colour of card, and then you can hide your foam pads behind it as well if you'd rather do it that way. So I think that looks really cool. And then having that cut into the card as well gives a different kind of effect. And I actually cut the die from silver mirror card as well and then offset it behind, so it gives that look of like the chicken wire sort of with the silver, but you've got the beautiful colours in exactly the same place because it's cut from the background, which I really love that sort of effect where you can see the ombre of colours in a tiny skinny die cut as well. So I love the look of that, and you get that beautiful jagged edge around there too. And then on the other one, I used that gridded piece. I actually cut 2 so they're sturdier, and I stuck them together. But even with that beautiful fine detail, you can still stick the 2 of them together, which I really love. And then I've used a little bit of my Dymo label tape along with the word wonderful, so you can turn it into have a wonderful birthday rather than it having to be to a wonderful friend. Or, I mean, if you have any other stamps that say mum or dad or anything, you can do to a wonderful mum and dad as well. Or if you can get the letters to spell out the name of somebody, you can do it to my wonderful blah blah blah. Or you could do you are wonderful and then their name. So lots of different options of how you can incorporate these together. But I wanted to do some clean and simple kind of cards, and I love this kind of a background sort of effect. You can also do it if you don't like doing ink blending, you could also do an aquaflow background or any sort of watercolour background as well. Even your shimmer powders, and then you could use your Nuvo hybrid inks to stamp on top of them, and then that should you know, stay stuck, not rub off like some ink pads might do off the top of a shiny surface. But the Nuvo ink pad should dry on top of your shimmer powders, so you can add some like extra texture into a shimmer powder background using some of the stamps in here. And I definitely think if you have the backgrounds and borders set from before, number 5, it would definitely work really nicely in conjunction with all of these as well. So if you have that, definitely think about mixing and matching them together. And then this one is my step-by-step. So I've done a photographic step-by-step for the Tonic blog as well, and this is the card that I chose to do. I kept with the same colours because I really love that colour scheme, but I did a different pattern of ink blending. So I started with the pink in the middle, then the blue, and then the green around the edge. And this was an idea that the other night, because it's been so hot recently, took me ages to get to sleep, so I was thinking of crafting ideas, obviously. And so what I did, well, first I was thinking, oh, I could use like masking paper or post-it notes or something to mask off the sentiment. But then I was thinking, well, you know, people already know how to do that. It's kind of a more of an obvious kind of technique or something. So then I thought, what about adhesive sheets? So I cut the word hello from the adhesive sheet, and then I just trimmed around the edge of it into a little rectangle. You can actually follow the debossed kind of lines that are around the edge of the die when it cuts, because it kind of has that rectangle around it. And then, so I cut it from the double-sided, and then I peeled it off and stuck it on here. I also kept the middle as well, and I kept that with the backing on there, and did all my ink blending, stamping and everything. And then once I'd finished, I peeled this off to reveal the adhesive, and then I put ice white glitter on it to get this cool effect. You could have just done this by, you know, cutting the hello from some white glitter card and sticking it on the top, but it gives a different look because it's all in one piece, which I think is really nice. And I was attempting, my original idea was to use the positives of the letters, and then I thought, oh well, I might as well show both, you know, if I'm doing a step-by-step and you've already cut the piece, do both of them. But then I was peeling the backing off the H and I messed it up, so, and I couldn't be bothered to recut it again, so I just went with this version. But I thought this version is kind of more of a unique kind of way, I suppose, because you could do the other version just with the letters, just from using any alphabet dies that you have, but because all of these letters are perfectly in a line, you know, it works really well for this kind of technique using the aperture, because it's very difficult to line up alphabet dies, especially when you need 2 of one letter in the perfect positions. But if you already have the word done, this kind of card lends itself really nicely to that. And I've just used some of the textured sort of stamps to add to the background. I've done the zigzag twice, and it's really easy to line up. You can't even tell where the join is on either end, which is brilliant. Just top and bottom. Then I've used some of the sort of little cross signs, the little circles, and then inside the hello I've used that little dash one. You know, I said it fit perfectly inside the letters, and you can see it fits absolutely perfectly inside the letters. But because this was masked off with the backing sheet of the double-sided adhesive sheet, you could actually stamp any of the stamps over the top, and obviously it wouldn't get in the other areas because they're protected. So that's also another kind of way of using it. And then I decided to just bring in the word friend on there as well, so I've got another hello friend card. So I really like how that one turned out, and if you want to know exactly how I did it, you can go to the Tonic blog and look up my step-by-step as well. Then I have got a bunch more samples showing, well, this one's a different style, the other ones are all different words that you can create with all of the like the fall away letters, which I thought would be a nice thing to show you because it gives you a little bit of inspiration, or jogs your memory to kind of think of words that you might want to use on a card that you might not already have. I know obviously you can do it with alphabet dies, but sometimes you don't want to invest in loads of different alphabets, and just having some word dies that are in a different font to an alphabet that you have is really nice. So this one is a vintage sort of style, just using a dark brown ink pad to stamp the CRaFTi stamp, first generation, second generation, and then using those gorgeous like coffee rings in there as well. You can see that gorgeous splatter detail that's in there, really nice, and you've even got this like drip coming off at an angle as well. And I've just done 3 of the little coffee rings, and then all I've done is cut that hello out of gold. That's exactly how I cut the adhesive sheet out as well. So you can see the different kind of effect you can get from using it from a different colour or different type of cardstock as well, as adding like glitter to it too. So that is just a really simple one. They're not all finished, these ones, they're just sort of like panels to go on the front of a card, but this gives more of a vintage kind of feel to it using the brown inks and gold mirror card. I could have also done some gold heat embossing on this as well to add some extra pattern down this side. I think that would have looked lovely. Then you can also spell the word hooray, which I thought was really cool. So this one says hooray amazing friend, and you can actually link the words together, so it's a whole continuous strip that spans the whole length of this landscape card. So it says hooray amazing friend. Some of these backgrounds you might recognise from videos earlier in the week, from the chalk mousse, the aroma drops, and also from a couple of weeks ago the Santa's Workshop colour trend. I've been rifling through my spare backgrounds to use lots of these on, just to show you the different words in use on a card, so that you've got like better inspiration to show you. So that is the hooray amazing friend that you can do as a cool different sentiment. This one is personalising the card, so this one's for my nan, so I've done it wonderful nanny, because I call her nanny rather than nana, and so I've just turned the L into an I to actually like personalise it for her, and this is using the aroma drops. So this one smells like strawberry, so when she opens this one she should get a lovely scent of strawberry, which is lovely. So that's that one. Then I've got a couple of Christmas ideas. So this one you can spell the word Yule, and then I've just done Tide Greetings using my Dymo. So we've got Yuletide Greetings. I've used the gorgeous grid one in the background out of a pearlescent cardstock, and then you can see here this is the coffee ring, and I've done it in what colour is that? Magical Woodland glitter embossing powder from Nuvo. It's got like gold glitter in it, and that works really nicely, snipping it out and using it as like a circular focal element on your card as well, which I think looks really cool. Then as a second Christmas card idea, you can also create the word Noel, and you can see there how the two O's are slightly different sizes because they didn't stack up perfectly. Isn't that weird that they look the same but they're not, they're just a tiny bit off from each other. But anyway, you can also spell the word Noel, which you can also like mix up as an anagram and spell Leon or Lowen as well, if you know people with those names, or even because you've got the LE, you could do Noel with another LE on the end for the name as well. So you can really personalise cards that way as well. And I thought this one would work quite nicely. This is one of the backgrounds in my colour trend video from a couple of weeks ago, using the mousses and mixing them with other Nuvo products. Then this one I didn't actually finish because I wasn't 100% sure if I liked the green or the white, or I also had some gold letters left as well, but you can do ho 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 as well, for like, so 3 Christmas versions that you can get from this non-Christmas set, which I think is fantastic. And like I was saying before, you can also turn the R into a P, so then you could also do happy and do happy Christmas as well for an extra Christmas scent. So if you need any extra words for your Christmas cards, you've also got the Yule, Noel, ho ho ho, and then you can also do happy as well, which is really nice. And then the final one that I've done here is Happy New Year as well. So I could have done happy out of the letters, but you can also spell the word year, which I thought was really cool, that you could do a New Year's card as well. This is one of the leftover backgrounds from the chalk mousse video, and I've done a little bit of stamping on there, and you can see how this is the Nuvo hybrid inks, and you can see how they stamp over that sort of slick surface that the glacier paste has given. So the Nuvo little hybrid squares, these ones, are perfect for stamping over the top of any Nuvo backgrounds that you might have created and want to add some stamping to. And then finally, I've got my art journals to show you as well. So this was supposed to be just this double page, and then I was like, oh well, I've got leftover paint, so I might as well add it onto this page. I was just going to do that page because this one already had stuff on it, but then I ended up doing this page as well. So that video has 3 art journal pages in it, but other than this one already having navy blue on it and some stencil designs, all of the rest of them is created just from using the gorgeous new stamps and dies, plus the 2 new stencils that came out with the chalk mousses earlier on in the week as well, the hearts and the Art Deco, Modern Art Deco one as well. So I've also used those because I love using stencils in my art journaling, and I just thought, you know, it would tie everything together and I can still do all the kind of techniques that I love doing. I did also use some of the chalk mousse on these pages as well, and I even mixed the light pink chalk mousse with the, what's it called, Blue Velvet, really dark blue Nuvo Aquaflow to give it a dark feel. So even, I didn't, so I don't think I said in the chalk mousse video, but because they're such light colours, you can pretty much turn any of them into a really dark colour like this. So I was using the light pink on this page and I still had some left, so I thought I might as well mix in the dark blue Aquaflow on this page to use it to tie in with the navy blue that's in there as well. So let's have a close-up look at this one first. So obviously the quote is kind of standing out, or the sentiment. I was trying to think of different words, and look, you can actually spell the word talent, which I thought was really funny. I was trying to do talented, but we don't have a D, so I went for talent, and I used my Dymo label as well as some of the other dies to turn it into every day your wonderful talent shines through. I thought that'd be quite a nice art journal, sort of a quotey sort of thing. And then you can see the background here. This one is graph paper, which I love to use graph paper. And then this was just a plain page because this is just a mishmash of loads of different pages stuck together into a little book. I started off with clear gesso on these 2 pages because this is printer paper and this is graph paper, so they're not very thick. So having the clear gesso on there really helped them. And then also in the video I was using, so the only non-Nuvo products I was using to create these pages were the clear gesso and the acrylic paint, and I was using the Dina Wakley acrylic paint. So I used eggplant, magenta, ruby and night to create both of the page spreads. The night was mostly on, well, only on the other 2 pages, but those were the colours that I was using if you're interested. But any acrylic paints will work. All I was doing was brushing it on with a large paintbrush, so really, really simple. And because I had put the clear gesso, you'll see all of this in the sped up video, but because I put the clear gesso down, I could do Dina Wakley's, or was it Joggles that I saw do addition by subtraction, where you add the acrylic paint over the top of the clear gesso, or white gesso as well, and then you take your stencil and then you use a baby wipe to remove the acrylic paint from the openings of the stencil, and because you had the gesso underneath it will release the acrylic paint, whereas if you'd just done it straight onto the absorbent graph paper you wouldn't have been able to get the paint back off, and you do have to still do it whilst the paint is still wet as well. So you want to do thin layers of paint so it's not all blobby, and then just use a baby wipe to rub the areas out, but you'll see that in the sped up video. And also if you ever find my sped up videos too fast, there is a little cog symbol on YouTube that you can click on that and reduce the speed to 0.25, and that will practically be real time because I speed the footage up like 5 times, so reducing it by a quarter is practically real time. If you want to see these processes much slower or in real time, you can actually slow my videos down as well if you want to. So I just thought I'd mention that. I don't think I've actually said it on a video before. It's always in the description of my YouTube video. So yeah, if you do want to see any of the processes I'm mentioning slower, when I put this sped up video up, you can actually slow it down as well. So as well as doing that, I also did some, I think I did the stamping next, I can't remember the exact order, but I was using the Nuvo hybrid ink pads. I kept everything together so that I could tell you everything that I was using. So across the 2 pages, these were the ones that I was using. I used Poppy Red, which does actually come in the larger ink pad. I think this might have been from a kit that we got, the small one. Exotic Orchid, Lotus Flower, Midnight Surf and Raspberry Smoothie went really nicely with the colours that I'd been using. So that's what I was using for stamping. And in the background of this one I used the crosses and some of the cursive script as well. I think that's all of the, oh no, I used a little bit of the newspaper up here too, the newspaper kind of one. And that was all of the stamping with just like normal inks. Then I took one of each of the die cuts. I used the hexagons on the other pages, but on this page I used the grid one, and I placed it on, and I used some Snowstorm Nuvo embellishment mousse, which is the newest white one, because there was a slightly cream coloured one before, but this is the actual white one. I think this came out in the White Wonderland colour trend last year. So I was using the white mousse because I thought it would add some lightness to the page to sort of go with the unpainted edges of the page as well. So I just did that in a few different places using a little bit of cut and dry foam and that mousse to add a few little bits of stenciling without actually having to use a stencil, which is nice as well. So if you don't have the heart one or the modern Art Deco one, you can just use the actual die cuts from this month's Stamp Club to create little stencils to use as well. And talking of stencils, I forgot to mention this bit. So I was using the Strawberry Frappe chalk mousse to add a little bit of stenciling with that modern Art Deco one as well. So you can see hints of that over here too, and a little bit down here, and there was a little bit over here which has kind of got hidden a little bit. But you will have seen in my video that you can use these over dark colours. If you use them thickly, they show up a lot better. But in this case, it was on a slightly darker colour, but I was just using it with a piece of cut and dry foam through the stencil, so it's not that thick of an application. So it's kind of ghostly, which I quite like the look of for art journaling, because you don't really want any one part of the background to be prominent. You kind of want it to be all over the place, and you know, so your eye is drawn to all different areas, not just to one area. Then what did I do next? I think I did the red heat embossing next. So for both pages together, these were the 4 embossing powders that I was using. So on this one I was mostly using the Duchess Blue, and then I was also using crushed mulberry, the strawberry slush, and then sports car red as well for my colours for any heat embossing that I did. So I can move all those out the way. And you can see here I used that tiny little dash stamp with the red colour embossing powder just to tie some of the red paint that I'd used in the background into different areas of the project. And then the rest of the heat embossing on this page was using those long dotty lines, and I did 2 of these on here using the longest, the biggest one, and just doing like a half design of like a fireworky sort of design, and I did one over here. And then I also did, using the smaller one in the purple colour of embossing powder, I did a full kind of fireworky design there and there, and then a half one sort of down here as well for a different kind of look. And I think I did some splatting on there too, but you will see that in the sped up video. It's hard to remember exactly what you did. I only made these yesterday, well, it might have been the day before, but it's hard to remember everything that you've done on here. And these scribbly circles were the paint as well, straight from the little fine tip of these bottles. It's really great for like drawing stuff on there too. And then I just finished it off with the sentiment, and then adding in any words that I wanted using my little Dymo labeler as well. So I really love how that one turned out, and I did use a bit of a white paint pen as well actually to highlight the Dymo words and also to highlight some of the hearts in the stenciling too. And then the other one, it is actually, I was working on it as a whole page because I kind of brought the dark colour onto this side to match the dark that was already there, but the quotes are kind of separate, although it could be, hey, make pretty stuff, and then art is wonderful, art is amazing, art is the best. I thought that'd be quite a cool big quote to fill up this background and give it some more light, because it was really dark. I think I had originally used night and a couple of stencils and stuff on the jelly plate when I had a whole big jelly plating session at the end of last year. But yeah, I love how these two turned out, and I really love this effect. So this is actually using the negatives of the letters to create sort of new letters, really, using the waste of them. And so the A and the T are both individual dies anyway, so it's really easy to do this. And then the R is actually from the yaw, and the letters on the dies do actually have a reasonable amount of space around them, and I love this wonky kind of look, so I was trying to utilise extra space by, you know, creating that wonky effect. But if you'd rather them really like straight around there, you could also cut them out straight as well. I just love that wonky sort of look, and I thought why not try and use all of the 3 words as well. So I did art is wonderful, art is amazing, and then art is the best as the final quote on there. And then I also I hadn't even thought of this one, but I was looking at all of the leftover letters that I had from cutting out the words art and talent and bits and pieces, and you could spell the word hey, so I thought hey, make pretty stuff would be quite a cool quote for the page as well. Oh, and this one I also stuck on some of the white hexagons. I just remembered that. I saw them on this one. So here I've stuck on some of the white squares from the grid pattern that I used as a stencil, and then here was some of the white hexagons that I used for the other stencil as well. And you can see the ones that have got bits missing. I really like that look. I think that looks really cool. And I really do love how these two turned out. Using the slightly darker colour, you can see how adding in a darker colour gives your page a different feel as well, which is nice. So for this one, this was using the modern Art Deco stencil with the strawberry frappe chalk mousse mixed with the blue velvet aqua flow to create a really dark blue to match the dark blue that was on this side. And I also added the same colours of paint over the top of the dark blue on this side to sort of mute it down and give those colours, the pink and the purple and the red in the background as well. I used the hexagon die cut as my stencil on this one, again with that same snowstorm mousse, just in a few different areas. I also did the little pluses in the background stamped in red. I've used some of the newspaper, I've used some of the script again. I think I might have just used all the same stamps for the background on this one. And then for the heat embossing on this one, I used that gorgeous zigzag, and I thought the red embossing powder would work really nicely because it kind of highlights the big red blob that's over here, brings it across to the other side, and I did actually do the red heat embossing on top of that big red blob as well, just to sort of you know, give a cohesive kind of look. And then the other heat embossing is using the purple and the dark blue, using that stamp that has the 3 sort of brush strokes on it, because I do love adding those brush strokes to my journal pages anyway. And so I don't know if I've got a page in here that I've done that onto. I know which page I'm thinking of, but I don't know. I'm not sure which of my art journals it's in. I don't know if it's in either of these. It's the one with the turtle on. I don't think it is in either of these, but I have shown it before in videos, that page. But yeah, you can just like do brush marks, but I love that you don't have to wait for the paint to dry because you can just heat emboss it, which is really nice. And it's a great way of using all of your beautiful colours of heat embossing, like your embossing powders as well. And even though this is really thin paper that's in here, this is the back of a piece of graph paper, and I think this is the front of a piece of graph paper, and this is the back of graph paper. That was graph paper, and this was just a thin printer paper, and it still holds up to the heat embossing as well, which is really nice. Even though it's a thin kind of paper, it works really nicely. Obviously make sure your acrylic paint is dry, because you don't really want to heat up acrylic paint too much. But yeah, I really love how these two turned out. And I really like that you can create so many other words. I don't think I really did that with the previous borders and backgrounds one. I don't think I really showed you other words that you could create with it because all of the fonts were different sizes, but I do think that would look great. If they haven't brought this back and you didn't get it, forgive me for keep showing it, but because this one had like smaller letters in here as well, I think doing this effect with the smaller letters to bring them into your words would look really good as well, because you could create the rectangle to be a similar size to whatever the other letters are that you're using as well. And even with these you could use any of the larger ones as like the capitalization at the beginning of the word as well, which again is also really lovely. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this up close video showing you the Stamp Club number 11 Patterns and Prints stamp and die set, and I hope you enjoyed all of the different samples that I've showed you. I've got so many this month. You can tell I really love this one because I did so many different examples with it, but I just love that you can do so many techniques with a word die, and it just gives so many different sort of looks to your cards as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed all of the birthday event celebrations that were going on this week as well. You've probably been inundated with videos from me. I don't know how many I've put up this week at this point, but hopefully you've enjoyed them all, and I will see you again in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!